What's up, guys? My name is Andy, and this is my podcast. So I thought we would call today Epstein, Trump, Tucker, Candace, Israel, and all the stuff. Basically, it's a grab bag episode, I guess. We'll hit on a bunch of things. I'll pull the pin on the grenade on all of them and throw them out there, and we'll see how we do. First, let me just say this. If you like this content, please share it, comment, like it, do all the stuff, right? We get buried on like every single algorithm. We get flagged all of the time because I use all of the words that you're not supposed to use because I don't care and I'm not going to have my speech manipulated in any way, shape, or form. So if any of this gets out there, if you see it, it's because people are sharing it, and we are completely dependent upon you. So for those of you that have done that, thank you. And that's awesome. And I greatly appreciate it. Also, too, Volume 1 and Volume 2 of my books, Devotional Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out now. Volume 3 should be coming out pretty soon, within the next few weeks. Those are doing well for us, and they're tons of fun and really punchy, and it's scientifically proven that if you read those books, your balls will grow. So you don't have to worry about TRT or any of that stuff. You just have to, all you got to do is read these books, and you'll be good. Like I said, it's scientifically proven. So with all that being said and that out of the way, also just one thing, I don't know if this is a little echoey for you guys. It sounds a little echoey for me, so I hope it's not too much of a distraction, but my studio's under renovation, so there's just, there isn't all the stuff up. So if it sounds echoey, my apologies. So hopefully it's not too big of a distraction for you. Like I said, today is kind of a grab bag topics. So hopefully there'll be lots of grenades and lots of pins pulled and lots of godly troublemaking to be had. So are we still talking about Epstein? Of course we are, right? Because our entire country is disgusted by it, horrified by it, and they should be. And if there's anything positive that could come out of this, it's that people are disgusted by it, and that we are at least unified here, which I think, there's a lot of things to be very discouraged about. There's a lot of things that you look at and you're like, this is just bad. The fact that we can at least agree on the fact that we shouldn't have sick, perverted, disgusting, rapist, pedophile, cannibals ruling over us. The fact that we can at least agree on that's a good place to start, right? That's a good place to start. And we disagree on everything as a country. We finally have one thing that we agree upon, and it's buried, and the people are attacked. So I think that says where the real division is. It's between the peasants and the elites. So I have said repeatedly, early and often, that I see the government as my enemy much more so than my neighbor, regardless of the political affiliation of my neighbor. And I think lefties are crazy. But I think the government is a much bigger threat, left or right. I'm an equal opportunity despiser. I despise them. I despise them all. So just think about how far down this greased slide of depravity we are. Like, in talking about the Epstein files and this drop, and make no mistake, I think it's all meant to desensitize us to these things. The way that it drops, how it drops, the continual drop, I think it's meant to do that, which is horrifying. But just think about how far down this grease slide we are as a people, as a nation, as a civilization. We have a tremendous amount of evidence, at least from what we can see, because it's not being investigated. So how do you know what's legitimate and what isn't? I have a tendency to believe that the vast majority of it is legitimate, and they throw some salacious stuff in there to kind of throw you off the scent. But I think it's all bad. That's kind of my take. But we have pedophile, rapists, cannibals ruling over us. We hear that. We're horrified by it. And yet most of us are like, well, yeah, I can see that, right? Like it's not surprising to us. Like, oh my goodness, for the love of God, we can, like, what's next? Like, where do you go from here? Like in my mind, that's rock bottom. Like when you think, okay, well, things can always get worse. Then, well, okay, things can always get. Where do you go from rapists, pedophile, cannibals ruling over us? And I'll say it again. I never get tired of saying it. But what is tolerated today is going to be affirmed and celebrated tomorrow. If nothing comes out of this, what does that mean for your children and your grandchildren? And look, I can tell you this is terrible. Most people don't know how bad the sexual abuse and pedophilia is in our country because their mind just can't go there, right? They don't want to let their mind go there. It's too gross. It's too defiling. And we think that if those things were the case, that our authorities would do something about it, that there would at least be some semblance of justice left. And I think most people secretly hope to God they never ever have to deal with the government because they know that they are completely at their disposal because we're serfs. But this is such an issue in our country already before all of this stuff drop. As a having served in ministry for a long time, having counseled sexual abuse victims, having been in state-run clinics for sexual abuse victims and for sexual abuse children who were victims of sexual abuse, like having been in those institutions and just talking to counselors and seeing that stuff, I can tell you, you have no idea how bad and how disgusting this is. And as it exists right now, like the best our government can do for you is to say, oh yeah, you have a child rapist living next to you. They're on the pedophile list because they're not. Our justice system is so damnably perverse that their mercy to you in punishing these people is to have them do a couple of years in prison and then put them on a list so that you know that they live right next to you, type of thing. The mercies of the wicked are cruel, and we are governed by wicked people. But my point being that this being tolerated now, this being washed over, this being forgotten, this we're disgusted by it, but we move on because we think the government is just corrupt. What are you going to do about it? Burn it down, right? If we tolerate this stuff, if there are not heads on pikes with this stuff, I promise you it will be worse. It will be affirmed and it will be celebrated tomorrow. What we tolerate today will be normalized tomorrow. That should terrify each and every single one of us. And you think that's not true. You're an alarmist. You're just saying this to scare us and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I'm saying it to scare the hell out of you. I hope you never have to deal with any of this stuff. I hope that nobody has to deal with any of this stuff. It's horrifying. It's traumatic. It's disgusting. It's perverse. And our nation can't long stand if we just allow it. Like just allow this to happen with no investigations, with no heads rolling type of thing. I think Trump should hang for this, and I'm not being hyperbolic. I really do. I think he should hang for this. The way he's minimized all of these crimes, I think it's horrifying, and I think it's disgusting. And he's called his supporters stupid, and then given cover to these horrible monsters that, just FYI, are still out there and are still doing all of these same things. It's not as though their lifestyle just changed because some emails came out from, decades ago. So these people are all still out there and they still feel the same way about you. What are you going to do about it? They're the elites. You're the peasants. Shut up and get in line. And think of everything that like Trump and his team have tried to do just in the past, I don't know, week, 2 weeks. They had the whole racist thing. They dropped the whole racist thing with the video with Obama. And you know darn well that was meant to, like the whole gorilla thing with Michelle and Barack's head. And it was, Trump's such a racist, and this, that, and the other. All that was meant to distract you from the Epstein talk, because they're getting hammered on this, and they should. They should be pulverized on this. And anybody that continues to support Trump, given all of this, is a damnable fool. But it's like, oh, Trump's a racist, to distract from the Epstein stuff. Aliens, right? Okay, to distract from the Epsteins. None of that's working. So what's next? Well, we're going to go to war with Iran. I think he was on Air Force One, and I saw the clip where I think this was last week, where he said, we're going to decide within probably the next 2 weeks, whether or not we'll go to war with Iran. It's like, when did that happen? When did that become a thing? I remember when I was a kid and there was Desert Storm. I think it was in 6th grade. And there was Desert Storm, Operation Desert Storm. And that was such a massive thing, right? Remember the whole Bette Midler song? And it was such a big deal. It was like, I just remember as a young child having the impression of the weight of that. Like, our country could go to war as students. Like, we're in, well, it was 6th grade. So, I mean, I guess kind of still elementary school, but just whatever. But we're writing letters to the soldiers and all of, like, it was such a massive deal. Like, the weight of that, the expense of that, like the whole nation needed to be involved. And it was a thing. It was a very real thing. Now we threaten war and actually attack other countries every other week. And it's no big deal. And the president could be like, oh, maybe we'll go to war. Maybe we won't go to war. When did that happen? When did we say this is okay? I didn't think that was something the president could just by divine fiat do. But anyway, it's not a distraction from Epstein. I'm actually pleased by that people are still talking about it, because like I said, if we lose sight of that, what are the ramifications of that? What are the long-term ramifications of that? And I could care less about the politics of it. I hate both parties, right? So you're not going to convince me otherwise. I want justice across the board. I don't care whose head is on a pike, but I want left heads and I want right heads on a pike. There, I'm an equal opportunity pikist. But I was thinking about this the other day, and my wife and I were just talking about these things, and I was probably off on a monologue, and she's gracious and kind and was listening. And I said, it reminds me of Braveheart, and you'll have to forgive me because I haven't seen the movie in a while. My wife's never seen it, which, that's a hard thing for me, that she's never seen Braveheart, and that she has a tendency to fall asleep in action movies that she shouldn't. And it's just something that we've had to work through in our marriage. And, you can pray for us, but she's never seen Braveheart, but she's really hot. So I overlook the fact that she falls asleep in action movies. And, marriage is about compromise. So there you go. But anyway, I was talking about Braveheart, and in the beginning of the film, there was like the scene with the Scottish people, and I don't know like the historical accuracy of it, but it was really messed up, where the English, like if a Scot was married, the English soldier could take the Scottish woman and have sex with her before her husband could, just as a means of completely subjugating, emasculating, demoralizing the Scottish people. Like, they just made cucks of them. And I was telling my wife about that, like the beginning of Braveheart. And I said, that's our nation. Like, all of the men of this nation, we act like a bunch of cucks. That the government, these elites, like the English king and the English in Braveheart, that they can just take our women and take our young girls and do whatever they want with them, and we do nothing about it. I'm ready for a William Wallace to grab a deer antler and start shoving it through some people's faces. I think that would just be fantastic. But I think anybody that is still supporting Trump at this point is either paid or retarded, right? And I think there's this huge concern that, oh, well, if we say anything about Trump, then we're supporting the Democrats. That's not true. That's so stupid. Just because I think his administration is retarded, and I think he's handled this horribly, and he looks complicit, and not just complicit, but guilty in all of it. The way that it's been absolutely handled. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I can despise Democratic ideology and still ridicule Trump, right? It's not like I'm supporting one just because this guy's a monster and a moron type thing. And I hear Christian podcasters that, and I heard one guy the other day, I thought, what a jackass. He has he has a really big podcast, and there's like, I don't know, that's a really big podcast, but, he said, oh, do you really believe that our government is run by, these satanic pedophile cannibals? Do you really believe that? And he kind of throwing, cover to that and kind of mocking people for believing the stuff in the Epstein files. And I would say, yeah, I kind of do believe that. And actually, here's this evidence as to why I would believe it. If you have counter evidence, if you have counter evidence that would say I shouldn't believe that, I'm all ears. But no investigation has been done. So why is it thought crazy that I would believe that? And why are you mocking other Christians for believing that? They actually have good reason to. And honestly, why would you want to throw cover to satanic pedophile cannibals if that were the case? Right? Why wouldn't you want to look into that? And more than anything, as a Christian, don't you want justice? Well, if that's the case, why aren't you calling for it? Why are you mocking people that believe that? And honestly, that's probably not a good place to be in, given the last several years. The people that have believed the craziest stuff have been, pretty much 10 out of 10. So, I don't know. I just think you look like a complete jackass when you're mocking people for saying, hey, we want all of this stuff investigated. Hey, we want to know all of the truth. Hey, we want people punished. If there's even a remote chance that anybody who rules over us, our representatives, our elected representatives, are involved in any of this stuff, we want heads to roll, because that would be just. Those people shouldn't be mocked for longing for justice. At the very least, if you want to be the adult in the room and be seen as the responsible one, given all of this stuff, maybe you shouldn't mock those people. Maybe what you should do is say, look, we long for justice. However, this is not mob rule. We need investigations. So therefore, I'm demanding, and I'm demanding before my audience, and I want my audience to demand the same thing, that there are at least investigations done, because we deserve that. Why would you not start there? Why would you not say that? Why do you have to mock other people for being freaked out about this stuff? They should be freaked out about this stuff. If there is anything in their life ever to be freaked out about, it is this. But you're too damn busy to be because you want to look like the adult in the room and the responsible one. I think, screw you, man. You're throwing cover to the most horrible of things to make yourself look good. I don't know that it gets worse than that, but there it is, and here we are. Okay, so that's Trump, that's Epstein, Tucker. So Tucker we're still on the grab bag thing. We're doing the grab bag thing today. Tucker did some interviews this past week. There was one with Doug Wilson, pastor out in Moscow, and then Mike Huckabee, supposed to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Just full disclosure, I love Tucker, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with everything that he says, but I think he's an honest broker. And I think we are living in a day and age of honest brokers where we need to sift through some of this stuff, because I think there's been a media revolution, and it's not as though people have realized that, and they've realized that you can buy influence through this new form of media. So you have a lot of podcasters, I think, that are hacks, that are bought and paid for by certain people, right? That have an agenda, and they've realized you have a voice, I have money, you want money, I want a voice. Therefore, I want you to push this policy, or I want you to push this position, or I want you to attack this person. That's often how these things go, and that's what's happening. I think the new media is fantastic, and I think that's been pushing everything that's good regarding the Epstein stuff. That's almost 100% driven by concerned podcasters. They've driven that. It's not legacy media. They've pushed it. However, all that to be said, there are people that are hacks out there But I like Tucker because at least I think he's honest. That's what I try to look for when I'm listening to anybody, even if I agree or disagree. Like I think Rogan is an honest broker. People might not like him. They might think he's foul. They might not agree with him. I happen to think he's an honest broker. I think he really cares about truth. And I don't necessarily agree with everything he says or even how he says it, but that's okay. Like that's all part of this thing. That's all part of listening to other people. But I like him because I think he is an honest broker. And I would say I much prefer to listen to Tucker or even like a Rogan over Wilson or Huckabee because I think those guys are honest. I think they're honest brokers. I don't think they're bought and paid for hacks, which I would say of Wilson and Huckabee. So Wilson did an interview with Tucker. I'll start there. So Wilson did an interview with Tucker, and to me I thought it was really kind of embarrassing because you could tell Wilson had an agenda going into it, and it was obvious because he usually is pretty good, and I thought he had a really obvious agenda going into it, and I thought he looked like a hack. I thought it was embarrassing. I don't know why he did the interview. I don't think he should have done the interview because he was trying to push certain talking points, and I think it made it very, very obvious what he was trying to do. And my question is why? Why were you trying to do that? What did you have to gain by doing that? And who told you to do that? Why was this the agenda going into it? Because it was obvious. So it looks like, as you're looking at it, it looks and listening to it, that he's obviously receiving money from somebody. At least it looks that way, and it looks really, really bad. I mean, at some point in the interview, towards the end of the interview, Wilson told Tucker they were talking. The question had something to do with division in the right, and then Wilson brought up Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. Wilson brought that up, which I thought was kind of passive aggressive and gossipy and a little effeminate. But okay, so he brings up Candace Owens and Erica Kirk, and then tells Tucker at some point you got to pick a side. He literally said that, and I thought, man, is that the position you take with your congregation, right? Pastor Wilson, at some point you're going to have to pick a side between these two people. Why those two people? That's really weird. Why would you single those two people out? I mean, obviously, I think I know the answer, but I think it's I thought that was really, really messed up. And of course, Tucker did a really good job of navigating that. And Wilson didn't go back to it, because had he gone back to it, it would have looked even worse. But I thought that was really messed up. I thought that was really messed up and really telling. There were a lot of things that were really telling in that interview and incredibly disappointing. And I've been really disappointed with Wilson. I followed him for a long time, and I probably most disappointed with him over the last, couple of years. I don't know, maybe longer, but it feels like to me, and this is the feels. I have no evidence for this, but it feels like I think my impression is that he's drunk on his own Kool-Aid, and I think he's getting money from the wrong people. And I think in his mind it's justified. And I thought about this the other day. So I'm not a fan of smash mouth incrementalism. I think it's a strategic compromise, and I just don't like it. I think as a pastor, that's not the position you should take as far as thinking through compromising regarding policy. I don't think that's your job is to cut straight, period. Regarding matters of justice and the like. But so smash mouth incrementalism, and it doesn't make it any cooler by putting smash mouth in front of it. It just makes it more obvious that it's a stupid position when you have to try to dress it up. It's like putting perfume on a turd. I know what you're doing type thing. The room still stinks, right? So I think it's compromise. But so I had this thought the other day, and it was enlightening for me regarding Wilson and his positions on things. And it wasn't it was a little bit ago. I thought, yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I think I was working on one of the devotionals, and I wrote that line: how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I thought, oh, yeah, that makes sense. right? Smash mouth incrementalism. How you do one thing is how you do everything. It's not just this position applied to this one thing like abortion. It's how you think through things, right? It's how you're, that's a life strategy. So, I think when you apply that to your life, any compromise becomes self-justifying because you're moving the ball downfield, but that ball becomes sustaining your own name, promoting your own brand, doing like everything that you would do becomes self-justifying, and I think that's the case. So he can make plays with certain people and make be invited to these tables and those tables. And it's really interesting if you look at the trajectory over the last couple of years. I think it'd be really interesting to do an audit of all of the organizations that he's involved with to see where just exactly what these connections are. I think it would be fascinating. But how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, okay. So in his mind, he is advancing the ball down the field, and this is how you do it. And these are the people that you do it with. Okay, that's fine. You've made your bed. Now you got to lie in it, but I'm done. I'm done with all of it. Like I was, that to me probably makes me the angriest because there's so much good there. There is so much good in so many of his books. And I think, it's the exact same with Trump. Trump threw all of his supporters, under the bus regarding the Epstein stuff, called them stupid, said he didn't need them, all that stuff. So he threw them all under the bus in order to protect his elites. I think Wilson has thrown a lot of people under the bus and has inadvertently attacked a lot of people that would have been willing to listen to him for the sake of having talking points or winning points with the cool kids crowd. And I think it's that probably angers me. That probably angers me the most, but because I think he could have done a lot of good. And I think watching that interview with Tucker, it was really apparent. I thought, man, this guy just looks like a compromised, self-righteous prick, and it's wrong. And like I said, that's probably the most disheartening because I think there's a lot of good there, but I'm done. I'm done with him and any all of that whole orbit, the whole Moscow thing. I'm done with all of it. I look at it the same way I look at Trump. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just done. I'm pulling the plug. I'm done. Period. So, okay. Now the Huckabee interview, that one probably, I'm sure, was watched a lot more. I haven't looked at the numbers because I really don't care. But I did watch that one too. It was also terrible. It was very, very terrible. And as you watched it, if you've watched it, you probably had the exact same conclusion. My wife and I were watching it together, and I said, Huckabee is so obviously an ambassador for Israel, not to Israel. Like that was apparent from the jump. It was apparent. And he kept saying, Huckabee kept saying, well, I don't recall, or I don't have memory of that, or I don't, not like, he was unaware of that. He was pretty much unaware of everything. And it's like, what do you do? Like you're unaware of all of these things that are directly related to your position as the ambassador to Israel. And you're unaware of all of these things. If nothing else, you look like a stark raving moron. But it was a way to deflect, and he didn't even do that well. Because it was pretty embarrassing. And the thing that I think is even more embarrassing is that the guy was referred to as a pastor repeatedly, which if you as a Baptist minister, so if you are somebody who considers you're a Baptist, you should probably be in sackcloth and ashes today, knowing that a representative of your tribe is that damnably stupid. But it's also an indication that as I was listening to that, I was thinking, man, bad theology hurts everybody. All of this, the stuff with the nation of Israel and their right to exist and it being God ordained and God gave it to them, and the Dispies, man, the Dispies. This is a good time to be alive if you're a Dispy, I tell you what, man. But I think those people are freaking nuts too. All the Israel sycophants, I think they're nuts. Bad theology hurts people. The church is the true circumcision. The church is the true Israel. The church is the true children of Abraham. If anybody has claim to that land, it's Christians. It's not Jews, right? Oh, but it's true. If anybody has claim to that land, it's the Christians, and will receive it eventually. But I think one thing that is hilarious about this, all of this stuff. Well, it's okay. I mean, some of this stuff you just kind of got to laugh at, right? Because it's so Looney Tunes. But the ones who hate Christian nationalism the most, I want you to see the irony regarding this. The ones who hate Christian nationalists the most and say that Christians shouldn't be involved in government at all are the ones who have actually put their theology into policy. They are the ones who have actually put their theology into policy. And that was on clear display in the Huckabee interview. So they're not really against Christian nationalism. They're just against God glorifying theology put into practice. And I think that is really telling. But they're not opposed to enriching themselves. So again, that's also telling. Now regarding Israel, I'm going to try to be brief on this. I haven't weighed in. I've tried not to weigh in on this debate that's been happening for a long time, but just briefly, I don't think Israel has any divine right to exist, any more right than any other nation has to exist. I essentially look at them like I look at any other government, and I think if you had as much money coming into U.S. politicians from China or Iran or any other country, there would be alarm sirens going off everywhere. And I think we should feel the same way about Israel. Actually, I think as a nation, Israel is much more of a threat to our country because I think they've successfully infiltrated our government and our media and our church. I know so many people have said regarding Islam, and I think this is true, that they can assimilate to a culture until they have the numbers, and then once they have the numbers, they'll overthrow it. I think the Jews are just as much of a threat. I think they've actually Israel, who just so happens to be Jewish, right? They've successfully done that in our country. They've just been able to do it through blackmail and espionage and all of these things behind the scenes. We just haven't seen it as an outright blood in the streets type thing. But they've successfully done it. I don't think they should get a dime of aid from us. I have no idea why on God's green earth we give them any money, or any other nation for that matter. Kink the hose is my foreign policy. But I don't know why they receive a dime from us. The whole idea of, well, we have a common enemy and we'd rather fight them over there than fight them here. I think, yeah, how's that going for you? Because we have more Muslims in our country than we've ever had. We've actually imported them here since the war on terror started. So I don't know. I mean, just based on the numbers, that is a retarded thing to say. And it's actually having the exact opposite effect. And the enemy of my enemy isn't always my friend. They're both my enemies, and we should not forget that. Israel as a nation is no friend to America. Israel as a nation is no friend to Christianity whatsoever, regardless of whatever type of propaganda they would tell you. They hate Christ just as much as the Muslims do. And the whole idea that, like, we're so ignorant, we hear Jew and we think, oh, biblical Judaism. That's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. So no, $0 for foreign aid, zero APAC, zero. No one should be able to serve in our government, and I don't think as far as corporations go either, in any type of real position, like executive position in any corporations, as a dual citizen. I think it's really messed up, because if that's the case, by definition, you have a dual allegiance and dual loyalty. I don't know why you would have dual citizenship at all, let alone let those people serve in any position of decision making or leadership. It's really interesting. I saw a thing the other day, and I didn't look into it, so I'm not like preaching it as gospel, but I thought it was interesting. A gentleman had listed how many people that served in higher up positions, administrative positions, leadership positions in the CDC that had dual citizenship between the U.S. and Israel. And then he did the same thing with Pfizer for like their executives and their board of directors and all of these. How many of these people had dual citizenship as well between Israel and the United States during COVID? Now, does that necessarily prove that they were involved in some plot? No, but if nothing else, it does show that it's kind of interesting. It does make you step back and go, huh, that's weird. Why is that the case? Why do you continually have this common thread with all of these weird things? And it also says the people that have been sounding the alarm against Israel for a very long time are not crazy, and they shouldn't be treated as such. I mean, granted, there are lots of crazies out there, but they're not crazy. We should be concerned. We should be very concerned, and we haven't been. And I think a lot of the disbefundies, a lot of the evangelical church is to blame for a lot of this stuff. Bad theology hurts everybody, and I think you have a malnourished church. I think by and large, the church has been fed with candy full of red dye for decades, and they're sick and addicted, and it's embarrassing. So lastly here in our whole grab bag thing that we're doing here today, Candace, because she's not controversial at all. Like I said, lots of pins being pulled today. I have a handful of episodes regarding Candace and the controversy on that and my take on that. If you go scroll on Facebook or YouTube, you should be able to find them. But she's got a new series coming out this week on Erica Kirk, and of course now the trailer is dropped for it. The trailer dropped for it yesterday evening, so of course everybody's online today, warning you not to watch it, and warning you that Candace is crazy, but they're obviously not. It's the yeah. So all the haters are already out regarding this. I guess my question to them would be, have you seen it? Have you seen, before you attack her and before you attack the series on Erica Kirk, have you seen it? What if there was something in it that created that is important? It's a very important piece of information to have. It's very questionable regarding who she is and her past. And she's never brought it up. She's never repented of it. She's never talked about it. She's never any of those things. It's everything surrounding that woman. I'm sorry, it stinks and it's weird. And all of the white knights that have to come out and defend her, I find that it's very, very weird. And I think this is what happens when the FBI does not do their job. And I think all of these people that are so disgusted with Candace, they should be more disgusted with the FBI that we've ever gotten to this point, to where you have citizens that need to do their own investigation. And I've said it repeatedly in the past, because I'm not a defender of I'm not like this apologist for Candace, but I went and I've watched her shows, and I will tell you that the people that are attacking her and saying things about her, they're guilty of the very thing that they're attacking her of. And it's very obvious that they have not gone through and listened to her shows. Now what's worse and what's more embarrassing, right? As a Christian, somebody who doesn't listen to the argument that somebody's making and actually interact with it, or damn them. In some respects, I've heard some of the worst stuff said about her. She's even demon possessed, by pastors who have said that, who have obviously not listened to her stuff. I think that's embarrassing. I think if you've been following any of this, and you've seen any of Erica Kirk's past, that chick is shady. To say, at the very least, she is shady as hell, right? Period. And she has lied repeatedly. Now, why does I don't know why somebody lies repeatedly. It's to hide something. What's being hidden, and why would you lie repeatedly? And why is it that this is the thing that is really interesting to me, that all of the Erica Kirk sycophants, all of them, right, that come out and defend her no matter what, before they know it, they know nothing about her, but they're defending her. All of the Erica Kirk sycophants are also violently pro-Israel. They're pro-Israel lobbyists. I find that peculiar. I find that interesting. Now, after all of the Epstein dumps, all of this crazy stuff, you don't think these same people couldn't have had something to do with Charlie Kirk's death? Right? That's completely off the table. We can't ask those questions anymore. We can't ask them at all. That's where we've gotten, right? It's maddening to me. It's crazy. Like all of those questions are on the table, right? They're all on the table. And then when you tell me they can't be asked, well, I'm going to put them on the table even harder, right? And when you continue to ask and you start picking at that scab, you go, this is not this. None of this passes the smell test. And the people that so violently need it to pass the smell test are now their character is severely questioned in my mind. The fact of the matter is, we will never know. We will never know who killed Charlie Kirk. But I suspect that our own government was involved. I suspect that the Israeli government was involved, and I suspect that Erica Kirk was involved to some degree or another. So there you go. You're welcome. So that's all I got for you today. That's a lot of grab bagging. That's a lot of pin pulling, and Jesus is still on the throne. Leave you with this: Jesus is still on the throne, and your government still hates you. So have a good day. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media and all the places.